In our last video, we were in Enid, Oklahoma, where we learned about the city's origins as part of a land rush. We also learned about the city's strange ties to Lincoln assassin John Wilkes Booth. In today's video,
we're in Jefferson City, Missouri. Today we're in Jefferson City, Missouri. This was stop one on what we're calling Wanderlust 2022, our epic travel adventure that's going to span about 4 months, taking us from Kansas down to Florida and back again.
Jefferson City is the capital of Missouri, so it only made sense that we made the Capitol building our first stop for the day. As usual, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about this cool city?
Jefferson City, informally known as Jeff City, sits along the northern edge of the Ozark Plateau, and it's just south of the Missouri River. It's about halfway between Missouri's two largest metropolitan areas, Kansas City and St. Louis, and it has a population of about 43,000 people.
This is an absolutely gorgeous Capitol building, adorned with statues in the front, the main one being of Thomas Jefferson, the namesake of the city. And here's a view from the side, the left-hand side, as we're staring at the front. You can see in the distance there in the background is the river, which is directly behind the Capitol.
Designers of the Capitol even paid great attention to detail on the backside of the building. You can see this beautiful fountain and sculpture garden that sit behind the building as you're approaching the Missouri River.
If you watched the video where we introduced this epic road trip, one of the things we pointed out is that we didn't do a whole lot of planning. And this is a perfect example of why. Jefferson City was not actually on our radar or even chosen as one of our destinations. Technically, our first destination is St. Louis, but this is the perfect distance that we had enough time to stop, explore, do a little filming, and both of us were really glad we did. It's a very cool little city, beautiful Capitol building, and it happens to be located right next to the downtown, which of course is the focus of most of our videos and where our next destination will be right after we finish showing you the rest of the Capitol grounds.
Hey, we're at stop one of Wanderlust 2022, and so we're here in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the capital of Missouri, and it seemed only fitting to start at the Capitol building, which is beautiful. And then behind it, across on the other side, is the Missouri River. So now we're going to work our way to their really cute downtown and see what else is here. Despite all these beautiful Capitol buildings, Jefferson City wasn't always the capital of Missouri. It was actually St. Charles, and the capital moved to Jefferson City in 1821. Now here we're walking from the Capitol grounds towards the downtown. Jefferson City has more than 40 registered historic buildings, and you can see as we're walking along some of these really great examples of amazing architecture.
It appears to us that High Street is the main street that intersects downtown, and right on the corner we just passed is where it changes from west to east. And you can see that there's a lot of beautiful foliage in front of the buildings, which is really great in person, but also makes it very difficult to get shots with the cameras and the video camera that really do justice to this beautiful stretch of the downtown.
It was a beautiful day, and we had fun just walking around downtown, enjoying looking at shops and restaurants and seeing what the downtown had to offer.
This is our 20th year of making videos of all the different places that we traveled, but it's only about the 6th month of doing videos that we're posting for others to see. If you're new to our channel, understand that we know we're not doing a good job of capturing your lovely city in its entirety. Our focus has been and will always be primarily on the downtown areas, whether it's a smaller city or a larger city or even a little town. The downtown is the one thing that's always going to be unique to every destination, because if we're being honest, once you get away from the downtown, they all start looking the same, with the same chain restaurants and retailers, and downtowns are about the last part of America that's truly unique when you travel.
What was neat to see is the city really puts an effort into having events and activities downtown. We were there on a Friday afternoon and they were setting up something on the grounds of the library, and they had posters up for a lot of the different things they do throughout the warm summer months.
When we travel, Caroline and I prefer to take highways rather than interstates if we have the time, and it was no exception as we were on our way from Wichita to St. Louis. We drove through the Lake of the Ozarks and all those little lake communities, and I have to say, it was all I could do not to stop and explore, because it was so beautiful. This area of Missouri is absolutely gorgeous, and I can promise you that Caroline and I will make a trip to the Lake of the Ozarks sometime in the near future and spend some time specifically on that area.
Yeah, taking those highways is so fun because you just come across towns that you would never see if you took the interstate. We found ourselves on some pretty windy 2-lane roads, but the scenery was gorgeous, and that is just a part of the country we had never spent any time in.
So at this point in the video, rather than explore some side streets or even the next main street over, we decided we would just return the same direction we came on the opposite side because it was time for lunch. So our next stop is Smoke BBQ.
Sampling local cuisine is probably one of my favorite parts of travel, and this place had great barbecue. My Bloody Mary even had brisket in it. It was delicious. After we finished lunch, we headed to Jefferson Landing State Historic Site. This has many examples of 19th century architecture and has many of those historic buildings, including the Christopher Moss House, the Lohman Building, and Lohman's Landing Building, as well as the Union Hotel. Right next to the Jefferson Landing Historic Site is the Governor's Mansion. Now, while we were standing there looking at it, one of the locals even told us that this is considered the most haunted building in Jefferson City. Apparently, the governor who lived there between 1881 and 1885 had a daughter who died of diphtheria. Later on, people said they could hear her playing piano in the attic.
Yeah, ghost-related tours is something that we definitely come across a lot in our travels. And whatever creepiness this governor's mansion may have, I'm guessing doesn't hold a candle to one of the destinations we stumble upon here real shortly. So at this point, we're now on Capitol Avenue, and we started heading our way east to see what other cool things we'd find.
The Capitol Avenue Historic District is a National Historic District. It encompasses about 21 acres or 107 buildings. This district was developed between 1870 and 1947, and it has a wide variety of architectural styles. Everything from classical revival, Victorian, bungalow, craftsman, and Art Deco. So just seeing these houses was a lot of fun. Many of them are still in use, and some were undergoing some pretty significant renovation.
Yeah, given their proximity to the Capitol as well as the downtown, we were both surprised to see how many of the old houses were in a state of disrepair. But as Caroline said, there was also a lot of signs of renovation, which is very encouraging. Hopefully they can bring these guys back to life. So we continued working our way east on Capitol Street, where we'd eventually land at what was to be the highlight of this destination for me, and that is an old, abandoned penitentiary. Caroline, tell us a little bit about the penitentiary by starting with the quarters directly across the street from it.
The Marmaduke House was constructed in 1887 and served as the warden's residence from 1888 all the way till the 1980s. It was constructed for only $7,000 because they used prison labor to build it and materials from the prison grounds.
It may not look it, but this was an active penitentiary until fairly recently, till 2004. So Caroline, tell us a little bit about this penitentiary, as well as perhaps a little bit of the famous occupants that have been in it over the years.
The Missouri State Penitentiary opened in 1836, and part of the rationale for building it was they thought it would help them hold on to their tenuous status as Missouri's state capital. This thing was open until 2004, making it the oldest operating penal facility west of the Mississippi River at the time it closed. Its famous or infamous occupants included Katie Richards O'Hare, Pretty Boy Floyd, Carl Austin Hall, Bonnie Heady, and James Earl Ray.
So here we are at the front of the penitentiary. If those ghost tours are something that are of interest to you, and it must be to a lot of you because as I said earlier, they seem to be everywhere, right here is where you would meet. And it looks like they give them pretty much daily, or more appropriately, I guess, nightly. If you're not into the ghost part, but you want to learn more about the penitentiary, across the street at the house Caroline told us about is a little museum where you can learn more about it.
If you've watched some of our other videos, we've commented how we love coming across street art and murals that we've found in almost every city we've been in, and Jefferson City was no exception. We came across this one after leaving the penitentiary.
Thus brings an end to our trip to Jefferson City. Let's wrap this thing up.
All right, so what did you think of Jefferson City, Missouri?
I thought this was a great find and a perfect stop for our first stop on our big trip. I loved the Capitol grounds. They were beautiful. And then the downtown had so many cool old buildings.
And this cool little penitentiary.
Yeah.
All in all, thumbs up. And if you're interested in visiting and you want to focus on the Capitol building, the penitentiary, and the downtown, it's all within about a mile, so it's easy walking distance. So thumbs up for me.
Me too.
All right, see you next time.
Cheers.
Get off the couch and have some fun.